Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers from the Works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, Part 23, Will and Willing, Part 2, from the Mother. You live surrounded by people. These people themselves have desires, willings, impulses, which come from all kinds of causes and take in their consciousness an individual form. For example, you have a father, a mother, brothers, sisters, friends, comrades. Each one has his way of feeling, willing, and everyone with whom you are in relation expects something from you, and you too expect something from everyone. This something they do not always express, but it is there more or less conscious in their being, and that creates formations. These formations, according to the thinking capacity of each one, and the strength of his vitality, are more or less powerful, but they have their own small force, which is generally proportionate to yours, so much so that whatever is desired, hoped, or expected of you by those who are around you enters into you, like that, under the form of suggestions that are very rarely expressed, and which you absorb without resisting. They all on a sudden awaken within you a similar desire, a similar will, a similar impulse. That happens from morning to evening, and also from evening to morning, because these things do not stop when you sleep. On the contrary, often they become acute, because you have no more the awakened consciousness which watches and protects you in a certain measure. And it is general, so general that it is quite natural, and so natural that you need special circumstances and occasions of a particular order to become aware of it. Finally, it goes without saying that your own responses, impulses, willings, have a similar influence on others. And that becomes a wonderful mixture in which the reason of the strongest becomes always the best. If the problem stopped there, one could get out of the mess. But there is a complication. This earthly world, this human world, is constantly invaded by the forces of the neighboring world, that is to say, the vital world, the subtler region that is beyond the fourfold earthly atmosphere. And this vital world, not being under the influence of psychic forces and the psychic consciousness, is essentially a world of bad will, disorder, unbalance. Indeed, it is full of all undivine things that one can imagine. This vital world constantly enters into the physical. It is very often, except to a few rare individuals, altogether imperceptible. There are entities, beings, wills, individualities, who have all kinds of purposes and make use of all occasions to amuse themselves, if they are small beings, or to cause harm and disorder, if they are beings with a greater capacity. They have a very considerable power of infiltration and suggestion, And wherever there is the least opening, the least affinity, they precipitate, because it is a game that amuses them. Besides, they have a great thirst or hunger for some human vital vibrations that have for them the quality of a rare dish upon which they would like to feed. And then their game consists in exciting these wrong movements in man, so that man may give out these forces upon which they can feed perfectly at ease. All movements of anger, violence, passion, desire, all things that cause you all on a sudden to throw out certain energies from yourself, are precisely what these vital entities prefer, because, as I have said, they enjoy them as a delicious dish. And their trick is very simple. They send you just a little suggestion, a little impulse, a little vibration that enters into you, and by contagion or by sympathy, evokes in you the necessary vibration, so that you may throw out the force which they want to absorb. There, it is a little more easy to recognize the influence, because if you are in the least sincere, and if you observe yourself closely, you perceive that a part, an element in the being, has suddenly awakened within you, and answers to an influence, an impulse, or a suggestion. You feel even at times that some very concrete thing enters into you and produces similar vibrations in the being. For example, if you are subject to anger and you try to control it, yoga will become aware of something that comes from outside or rises from below, and which truly seizes your consciousness and evokes anger in you. I do not say that everyone is capable of this discernment. I speak of those who have tried to understand their being and control it. These adverse suggestions are more easy to notice than, for example, you're responsible to the will or desire of a being who has the same nature as yours, another human being, who can act upon you without giving you a clear impression that it is something coming from outside. The vibrations are so alike, so similar in their nature, that you need to be much more attentive, have a much more sharp discernment, if you are to be aware of these movements that seem to come out of yourself, but are not really yours, and they do come from outside. Such is the problem. The remedy? It is always the same. Goodwill, sincerity, clear sight, patience. Yes, a patience untiring, and a perseverance which enables you to be convinced that what you have not succeeded in doing one day, you will succeed another time, and you will continue to try until you have succeeded. And this brings us back to Sri Aurobindo's aphorism. If this control appears to you impossible today, it means not only that it will be possible, but that it will be realized later on.